escaping the shadows. I know it's hard to put one foot in front of the other.
Hi guys, CeeChronicles here. Welcome and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I post fragrance related content on this platform and would very much appreciate it if you did consider subscribing. That is, if you're not subscribed. To those who are returning, thank you so much for the continued support. I have 7 fragrances which I have picked from my collection that I term headache inducing. Now do take note that while they're headache inducing, to me, to each his own, these may very well be fragrances that have the opposite effect to some of you guys, especially if you like heady, strong, heavy fragrances that are pushy. To me, they're just doing the most. They happen to still be in my collection because I am a fragrance reviewer. These fragrance lines keep giving us more and more of the same lines, so I keep them for comparison's sake. Number 1, guys, is going to be Aoud from the house of Latafa. This, as I said, now has that pink to pink. So had I gotten rid of this one, I would be regretting now, because I'd love to compare the two for you one day. Now, Aoud, guys, is built around roses and vanilla together with spices. It's going to give you that roses vanilla DNA. However, there is a Middle Eastern twist to this fragrance that is so spicy and so pushy that if you are not well versed with Middle Eastern fragrances, and even if you are, you may want to sniff this first before you purchase it. It is mature, heady, even nauseating. So you've got to be mindful of the people around you. Now, let me tell you why I'm saying the people around you, yet I have it in my collection. When I bought this fragrance, guys, it was not performing the way it is now. It has actually amped up, right? I loved what I smelled the first time. It was a gorgeous fragrance, and my sister fell in love with it as well. So she went ahead and she bought herself a bottle. But my sister is an oversprayer, and she is the one person that actually put me off this fragrance. And this is why I put be mindful of the people around you when you overspray or when you spray this fragrance. It has a stomach turning quality to me, to my nose, and I believe that I possibly won't be the only one who experiences such. So number 1, guys, is going to be Aoud, a fragrance that is very, very long lasting, but with it comes the headache for some, the migraine for some, and that nauseating feel for some. Second fragrance on this lineup, guys, is going to be from the house of Swiss Arabian. Now, I have always spoken about Casablanca as being one of those very heavy fragrances, and I've always recommended it for anybody who loves beast performing fragrances. This actually lasts till the next couple of washes. Now, why I haven't decluttered this one is this particular bottle comes with another, a range of other bottles, and very recently they have dropped another Casablanca. So if I get my hands on that one, I'd very much love to compare, the two to see if there's any difference. Now, this one is here, guys, because it's going to give you gourmand. It's going to give you toothache sweet caramel, but unfortunately that caramel then meets an overdose of patchouli. Patchouli in this is obviously the ingredient that is working as a fixative to give this one its lasting power, but I feel it crosses over to pushy, where if you use patchouli in unguided doses, it can add somewhat of a cheap nuance to a fragrance. And truly speaking, that is what I get from this fragrance. Not going to take anything away from the fact that it is a favorite for many, but I have to be honest, guys. If I'm here to talk about fragrances, I have to be honest about how they make me feel. It is at this level because it's just a tricky one for me. Even when I layer Casablanca, guys, it somehow has this piercing feel where it just manages to emerge and override everything. So this one is definitely not safe for anyone who's prone to headaches due to certain DNAs. It's Casablanca, the second one on the lineup. And then we have Fields at Nightfall from the house of Zara, a fragrance that proved, guys, that not all Zaras are weak. This one, together with Golden Decade and the other fragrance that draws its inspiration from Jean-Paul Gaultier's Le Bel, are some of the long-lasting ones from Zara. Now, I struggle with Fields at Nightfall. This, I think I've sprayed maybe 5 times ever since I purchased it, and it's been in my collection for over a year. There is a piercing jasmine in this fragrance, guys. Piercing jasmine, wherein where you're supposed to be enjoying a lactonic feel of a praline, where you're supposed to be enjoying a sandalwood and having somewhat of a gourmand fragrance, that jasmine just overrides everything, making it an instant migraine inducer for me. This one actually triggers my sinuses, because when I get a migraine, sometimes it often crosses over to sinusitis. So it is one fragrance I'm staying away from. I'm just keeping in my collection to complete my Zara collection, but it is a very heady. And a recommendation for those who like their fragrances heavy, you probably want to love that, but make sure you love jasmine when it comes to Fields at Nightfall. The next fragrance on this lineup, guys, is going to be this one, okay? Deja Vu White Flower. And I am so happy I purchased this one as a mini, okay? Well, besides the fact that the Kyalis are expensive, I love how the Kyali does, these twin ones, right? The other side has the Ember Invite Only. The one I have a problem with is that Deja Vu White Flower. Deja Vu White Flower, guys, becomes a headache in a bottle for me because it has that non-moderately done patchouli, that patchouli that just blasts all the white flowers there, where you're supposed to be enjoying your tuberose and all the other white flowers. That should have made this one a perfect floral. It has that pushy patchouli again that can border on making a fragrance have a cheap vibe. So I personally wouldn't buy this in full size. If I were to be gifted, I probably wouldn't use it because it is that fragrance, guys, that in its mini form, I can almost tell you that it's just doing too much to an extent that having a spray bottle in its full size, I don't think I'll be able to carry this fragrance, guys. Deja Vu White Flower from the house of Kyali is the fourth one on the lineup. And then we have Prime from the house of Milestone. Now, don't let this dent fool you. This was a fragrance I struggled with. I was eventually able to use in very cold weather, and even then I was wearing it at the bottom of my hem, layered with gourmand. Which gourmand was it? Layered with Nabras, all right? And I was just going careful when it came to this particular one. This draws its inspiration, guys, from that Frederic Malle Promise. And it is built around an apple, and indeed you're going to get an apple in this fragrance, a crisp apple, if I may add. But there is an inclusion of an intense cypriol oil meets rosemary meets patchouli, and the mix then distorts that apple, making it such that you will still get the crisp apple, but something in here ends up being a mix of like a chemical thingy, like a bounce off of a chemical thing, something that I get in turpentine, something that I get maybe, let me say, in nail polish remover, in case you don't interact with turpentine. So it is that sharp thing that is in this fragrance that then induces a headache in me. So it's definitely a fragrance I wouldn't repurchase. It's just here in my collection for reference sake as one of those fragrances that do nail the DNA that is going for, but it's quite heady. This 1-2 sprays, guys, is going to blast yourself and the people around you. So if you love heavy DNAs, this is going to do it for you. But if you are tiptoeing into fragrances, or you're one of those people that is super sensitive to piercing DNAs, then you ought to test this one before you add it to your collection. Prime from the house of Milestone. Our second from the last, guys, is going to be this one, Aay Dubai. Now, disclaimer, this, let's say I were to be given a choice to choose between Ajwad and this, I would definitely pick this one. However, I have to caution you when it comes to Aay Dubai. I prefer the white one, and I'm not here to lure you into getting the white one. I'm just saying this is a DNA that is so not cautious. It is built around caramel, butterscotch, vanilla, coffee, some spices and some woods, right? Those are usually yummy gourmand notes, and you are going to get a yumminess in this fragrance. It definitely does qualify for a gourmand, but it is a sort of gourmand I'm going to put at masculine style of gourmand, where it's not really like girly yummy. However, why it's here, guys, is the butterscotch and that caramel are so sticky and so sweet, like toothache sweet, and then they meet this toasty coffee, right? Like a smoky coffee, and then it becomes a concoction that is too sweet and sticky, with a coffee that's presenting as more of a smoky than like a vivid, coffee note, if you will. And it is that pyramid that makes this one not really balance well. It is the same pyramid that makes this one be one of those fragrances that you ought to maybe wear in winter, because it can borderline be doing too much. It is also that same thing that can somewhat end up annoying you that I get in this fragrance, guys. So Aay Dubai definitely makes this list, but as I said, I wouldn't say it's as bad as Aoud, but it's one that you may need to go slow on the sprays. The last fragrance on the lineup, guys, is from the house of Tanya, and I've always spoken about, I've always told you my thoughts on Alia. This fragrance kind of vibes in the same way as Casablanca, but I don't think that is what they were going for. I just feel, guys, they use that patchouli as a fixative in this one as well to give it the lasting power, but they overdid it, right? Had it been that they had used the patchouli in moderation in this particular fragrance, I feel maybe the fruits in here, which is lychee and all the nice stuff, would have maybe come more to the surface. Now with this one, now I'm not just going to blame the patchouli alone. It does seem like the patchouli is in a push and pull thing with the cassis leaf. Now that cassis leaf, otherwise known as the black currant leaf, in this is doing too much, and it's almost like the two, which is the patchouli and the cassis leaf. And you know that if the cassis leaf and the patchouli are in the same fragrance and both are doing too much, if you have an experience with fragrances, then you know exactly what this fragrance is doing, okay? That cassis leaf is pushy, giving off like a green ammonia type of thing, and then the patchouli is heady, and then it becomes that bullies everything to an extent that you don't get to the enjoyable fruits, you don't get to that chocolate note, you don't get to the sandalwood notes that are purported to be in this fragrance. And it's quite a shame, because if they had gone a little bit easy, I think this would have been a very enjoyable fragrance. So that is what I can say about Alia, guys. Another one that I managed to negotiate with, I just had to play around with a lot of concoctions until I was able to use it, but it's certainly one that I wouldn't repurchase, and it's the last one on this list. So that's it, guys. Those are some of the fragrances that I picked from my collection that I would say are fragrances that you may need to test first, especially if you have a sensitive nose. 2, fragrances that if you love, be mindful of the people around you. Those fragrances could borderline be doing too much to the people around you. And 3, those are fragrances that I feel have one note that is on steroids that kind of spoils everything else. Let me know in the comment section, guys, if you have come across some fragrances that are borderline pushy and you would love for others to know about those fragrances. CeeChronicles is my name. Thank you so much for joining me today. Remember to turn on post notifications, guys. That way you get to be notified anytime I upload a video. Like and share this one, and remember that smelling good is a form of good manners. Cheers.